Raising girls' rights and the specific problems girls confront across the globe, the United Nations General Assembly approved Resolution 66/170 on December the 19th, 2011, designating October 11th as the International Day of the Girl Child. The very first International Girl Child Day was observed on October 11th, 2012. That's a year after the declaration. The need to end girl-child marriage was emphasized. Girls need to deserve more things like maternal health care and parenting support for adolescent mothers, digital and life skill training, violence prevention programs, and so on and so forth. There is an urgent need to bring policies and services that enable girls to realize their rights and achieve their full potentials. This day, that's October 11th, is aimed at raising awareness and responding to girls' calls for change together with our government and civil society partners. And the theme for this year's celebration, we will get to that. But I have a very interesting guest in the studio. She's making a comeback. She's been here before, and she's here again. My guest today is Lois Deromoshe. Thank you so much for joining us on Insight.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. It's no longer Deromoshe, it's Lois Tofumi Amele.
Okay, yes. How did that slip? How did it slip my mind there? Okay. That's true. Yes, Lois recently got married to one of our own in the industry. So congratulations is still in order.
Thank you so much.
So how has the transition been?
It has been good. It has been amazing, and I just really thank God, because a lot of people are struggling, so I don't take the peace that I enjoy for granted.
Thank you so much. Well, congratulations once again, Lois. And just to let you know that Lois is a gender-based mental health advocate, and she's also kids and teenagers coach.
Yeah.
She's at home with kids. You can join the program by joining our live stream on YouTube. Just type in Citizen FM 93.7 and you will be part of this show from anywhere on the surface of this earth. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. At 10:30 we will open the phone lines, and so that you can join the discussion. Yes, what are we talking about? The Day of the Girl Child, International Day of the Girl Child, actually was celebrated yesterday, but we feel that the discussion should continue.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be placed for just a day. It's not supposed to be just one day. For something that we could talk about all day, all year round. And let's start this way. How significant is this day?
Okay, so the International Day of the Girl Child is a very significant day, and it's very important to me as an individual, to me as the Executive Director of Good Sides Philippine Missions Foundation, because every year once this theme comes out, it comes with a perspective, it comes with a focus, that we all should look at. There was a time we had digital generation, our generation, and it points out to the fact that it's time for a lot of girls to go into technology. We had Our Time Is Now, Our Rights, Our Future. That was last year, so it made girls understand that it's time to do whatever you want to do. Now is the time, all of that. This year we're looking into invest in the girls' right, because the right of the girl is very, very, very important. Invest in the girls' right. He didn't just stop there. He said our leadership, our well-being. That's our theme for the year. Invest in the girls' right, our leadership, our well-being. So we're talking about investing in the girls' right, making the girl for first and foremost to understand that they have rights, to understand what the rights are, and understand how to use their rights, how effective their rights are, So that's basically what the team is. And then when it comes to leadership, it brings our minds back to politics and whatever. If you want to become a politician, you start from now. Whatever you want to do, you start from now. So it brings our mind. The leadership aspect in that team talks about the fact that you can be a class rep as a girl, because in our days a lot of girls are always assistant class rep,
Exactly.
so you can be a class rep. It also talks about the fact that you can go into politics when it is time. You can be the leader of your club, because I know schools have club and they have presidents of those clubs. So you can go into leadership, and then it makes us focus on the other part that talks about our well-being. It focuses on the fact that goes to maternal mortality rate, goes to our health, goes to menstruation, menstrual hygiene, goes into other harmful traditional practices that can affect the girl. So the team is a very broad one, and I'm really excited about it.
Okay, let's do a little bit of retrospection here. Let's look back 13 years after the declaration of this day by the United Nations. How have we fared? Let's use Nigeria as a case study from your interaction, because you have been with these girls, and a lot of them, you feel the pulse. How has it been?
I would say that we have not made so much impact, because if I say we have made a lot of impact, then a lot of people will relax. So we have not made so much impact, but we have made impact. Because today we can boldly talk about gender equality. Today we can boldly talk about menstrual hygiene. Today we can boldly talk about, harmful traditional practices, and call the attention to people and make them understand that this thing you are doing is wrong. So today we can do that. Before talking about it, you see a lot of people carrying stick at you. You see a lot of people trying to bring you down, trying to talk to you, that these things are bad. But now we can freely talk about these things, and it's important that a lot of people, their minds are opening, and they are getting to understand that these things are things that needs to change, because as the world is moving, we are also supposed to move and evolve with the world. So it's something I would say that we've come a long way. We still have a lot to achieve as we go, but we've come a long way.
Yes, I also remember that the last time you were here, we talked about the Day of the African Child.
Yes.
Today we are talking about the girl child.
Yeah.
So I want us to zero in on the girl child. What are those, from your interaction with kids, with children, what are those unique challenges that are peculiar to the girl child?
Okay, so I would say that there are a lot of challenges that are peculiar to the girl child. Now that we're talking about the girl child, I know some people that are listening to us will be saying that every time girl child, people are always making those statements, and I think it's because they have not fully understood what the girls are going through. And I feel like it's a whole lot. The girls are going through a whole lot, ranging from preferential treatment, because we still have that. We still have that now in the northeast, the northwest. You see 40-something%, 49% of preferential treatment. That means parents will allow their boy child to go to school and say their girls should stay at home, that they don't have money to train all of them. So
after all, they will be married off.
After all, they will take another man's son name. So things like that. So I'm telling you, you know what is shocking me in all of this is the fact that people, even in Abuja here, people in communities in Abuja here are still doing this. I met a man. He's a pastor. He's a pastor. He's in one of those churches. I don't want to mention the name of the church. In fact, I do a lot around school, children, and all of that. His daughters, the wife gave birth to 3 girls. He refused to train the 3 of them, that because the wife did not give birth to a boy for him.
In this day and age?
In this day and age. They said this was not even the first time, that he got married to the first one. The first one, what even happened? The first one gave birth. She gave birth to a girl. I think he was not married to that one. He gave birth to a girl, and that one, the woman ran away because of depression and everything. That first one ran away. Then the daughter, he sent the daughter home to his own mother. That's to her grandmother. And then what the grandmother does is she sells banana. So the girl hawks banana in the village. Till that woman heard that this is what that man is doing to his daughter. That was when he now went and picked his daughter. The woman went and picked her daughter from the village. Now, that is what he's doing to this same set of 3 girls. There are 3 girls. I think one is going to SS2 now. The other one is moving. And the 3 of them, their mothers are the one training them.
Well, listen, I think maybe after this program, we need to get the identity of such a man and call him out.
Exactly.
Because that's what we need to do.
Exactly.
We need to call people like that out, and that's one of the ways we could tackle this.
Yes.
I'm sure that man will be blaming his wife for giving birth to a girl.
Exactly, and he doesn't know that he's the major he's the major donor.
It would have been funny if it was funny, but it's not funny at all.
It's not funny. It just shows his mental, it shows that he's shallow in thinking. That's also what I would say, because he doesn't fully understand the capabilities of what the girl can become. And she's doing great in school. She's a very bright student. In fact, the 3 of them are bright students, if not because of the ups and downs. Because now, I heard that those children, their mothers are not with the man now. The mother has left the house just because of preferential treatment.
This brings me to the issue of members of the civil societies. Now, when I'm talking civil societies, now, not just the registered NGOs, and I'm talking about families, religious groups, and others. What should we be doing? I know that there are a lot of advocacy going on, but what more should we be doing? Let's start from the family.
Yes, and that's the reason why sometimes I'm a media campaigner, but I don't just stop with the media. I do community sensitizations, I do school outreaches, I do community, I do a lot of outreaches here and there, and that's because we don't just want to be talking. We want to also act, because if we don't act, these things that we have said, these things that we have done, these things that we're saying, they are never going to happen. So one thing I have been doing is I've been going to PTAs. In fact, the last PTA at school for the deaf in Kuje, I was there. We went to sensitize children, sensitize their parents as well, about violence, about all of these things that goes on in communities and all of that. So that's one of the work that I do, Good Sides Philippine Missions Foundation do, as an organization. And I want to employ other civil society organizations, NGOs, individuals, because you must not register an NGO before you can put some things straight. You see something going wrong in your community, see something going bad in your community, the first thing to do is to call that thing out. Oh, this thing that is going out should not continue. This particular thing that you're doing is wrong. Don't do that. Don't do this. So putting it straight and making people understand that these are the right things to do. In those days, we used to say that a community they are responsible for training a child in those days. But now we see that those things are no longer. If a child is even going astray, you see that it's not my business. We're not active bystanders, and that's a problem. So it's important that as a community, that this child is belonging to so family. It's important that you connect and say, this child, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do. So it's our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of any NGO. It's not the if something is going bad in your community, it is your responsibility to put that thing straight, because you have seen it. If you have seen it, what is the problem? So what solution are you adding to that? What solution are you replacing that problem with? That's what I was saying.
Exactly. I agree with you, Liz, but let's also look at from the government side, let's look at legislations. We know that we have a lot of legislations in the country. We are not short of legislation. I think what we need is more enforcement from the agencies responsible. For example, the issue of child labor is paramount. We talk about out of school children, out of school girls and everything, but you mentioned earlier about the hawking and so many other things. How can we step this up, bring it to the front burner?
The thing is, even those children that are hawking, most of them used to go to school. It's when they come back from school that they will now start hawking. So that is even a lot. It's a lot. And there was a time that the government was doing something about stopping them and talking to them and all of those things. But in Nigeria, a lot of things, when you hear from the government side, you hear from the parents side, you hear from all of you just feel very downcasted. Because that parents will tell you that is that money that the child is using to hawk, that the child is going to use to, that they're going to use to train, the child in school as well. The parents who are not sleeping, they're also working here and there. But I would say that it's important that the number of children that we can take care of, those are the numbers of children that we should give birth to. It's important that we know that.
I know, you see, that's a very touchy issue.
Yes.
Anytime things like that are brought up, we seem to hide under religion and culture and everything. So
That's very true.
so understand. So, but it brings me to this point. Some of this advocacy, I'm sure when you are on it, when you meet community leaders and everything, sometimes you have some kind of people are not favorably disposed to some of this advocacy because of religious issues and traditional practices and everything. Give us a sense of it. What does it feel? What have your experience been so far?
Okay, so when it comes to, I think most of the advocacy I do is FGM. I do FGM around different communities like that, and one of the pushbacks I get, is the cultural barrier. I say cultural barrier in the sense that, they don't understand what the effect of FGM, so they want to push back because they want to sustain their culture.
Just a moment there, Lois. I was going through some literature, and I understand that Nigeria is even home to 10% of worldwide cases of FGM.
Yes.
Across the world. That's
Let me even give you the full prospect. It's over 200 million women in over 30 countries or 29 countries that are living with the consequences of female genital mutilation. 10% of that 200 million are Nigerians. That makes it 20 million women are living with the consequences of female genital mutilation, in this country. So it's a lot. It's actually a lot. So female genital mutilation is something that has been eating deep into our community, into our lives, into productivity of even the nation, into our economy. Because if the women are not productive, it can affect us, generally as a nation. So most of the pushbacks I get is in communities. You even meet some people, they say, you have not been caught. Why were you not caught? Things like that. And that's because they don't fully understand what's going on. And that's why I talk to people that are coming into advocacy. I say, if you are going into, don't just assume that they know what is right, because a lot of them don't know that these things are cultural things and they are things that should stop. So they don't know. So it's the way you now go into advocacy and you are screaming and you are shouting, they just look at you and they continue their practice. But when you go to them understanding that is their culture and making them understand that these are the consequences. If you do this, this is what will happen. If you do this, because FGM has short-term consequences, it also has long-term consequences. The short-term consequences are, injury to the areas of the genitalias, bleeding, that's hemorrhage, death, urine retention, a lot of things. Long-term consequences are childbirth complication. A lot of them find it difficult to give birth. I met somebody that 4 of her children, she did it through cesarean section because of FGM, and then a lot of other ones, a lot of them, and it depends on the type of FGM that you have done. We have type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 is clitoridectomy, that's when you cut off the clitoris. The type 2 is when you cut off the clitoris and you cut off an area of the labia minora. Then the third one is infibulation, when they sew down the whole genitalia and they just leave a spot for urination and menstruation. And even sometimes, if depending on the expertise of the person, if the person does not do it well, all the menstruation and all of that will be stored inside, the endometrium. That's like the womb of the woman. So the third one is pricking, insertion of herbs and a lot of things, So FGM is a serious issue, and I'm still struggling with the fact that people are saying that FGM will stop promiscuity. That if you cut your girl, it will stop promiscuity. It does not stop promiscuity. The opposite is the case.
There's no data to back that up at all.
There's no data. Because the reason why they say that is because it stops the urges, the sexual urges. But at the end of the day, once these girls are married, or even before they are married, I've had situations even around the area, that I don't want to mention the area because somebody told me in confidence, said these people, they are going through a lot in their marriage. Say, what's going on? Say the girl does not have urges, and that's the reason why now she's just, she has become a sex worker because she's looking for sexual satisfaction. So it's even moving a lot of girls into sex working because they are looking for sexual satisfaction. Their organ that is supposed to be responsible for the satisfaction has been cut off. So it's like you're amputating a person. It's like you're cutting away a person's arm, a person's leg. That's what FGM is. And the funniest part is that FGM does not have health benefits. It doesn't have any form of health benefit. So it's something that we really, really need to look into in this country.
Okay, if you're just joining us, it's Insight on Citizen FM 93.7, and we are discussing the International Day of the Girl Child. What has been the fate of some of these young girls in the country whose we say every day they are the future of Nigeria? What has been the legislation like? What has been the enforcement? What are the advocacy? What has been the role of traditional institutions, the family, and even religious organization, and so many other things? It's not a time for pointing fingers. I think as Nigerians and Nigeria, we need to think that this is one common enemy that should be tackled. So
Yes.
the phone lines are open now. You can join the discussion 0903 797. That's 0903 797. You can also call us on 0818 222 or 0818 206. Any of these numbers. You can also send us a WhatsApp message, and our guests will react to any of the questions. Just let us know where you're calling from while you send the WhatsApp message. It can be to any of the numbers 0903 2229797 or 0818 222 or 0818 222 It's still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Welcome back to the second half of the program. It's still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Lawrence Omoiti, and the discussion has been on the International Day of the Girl Child, which was actually celebrated yesterday worldwide. And my guest has been Les Tofumi Amile, who is a gender-based mental health advocate and also friends of kids and teenagers. She's actually coach of teenagers and kids, and she's been helping us make sense of the situation, what it means to even cater for kids and teenagers, young girls who are in their teens, the challenges they face daily and what they think. Well, the numbers are still open 0903 2229 797. That's 0903 I take that again, 0903 797. You can also call us on 0818 222 or 0818 206. You can send us a WhatsApp message if you don't want to make a voice call, or you can also interact with us on our social media platforms. on Facebook at Citizen FM, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. Okay, let's look at another angle of these challenges that these young teenage girls face. Apart from being out of school, another is something also related to tradition and cultural practice: early marriage.
Yeah. Yes. Child marriage is one of the harmful traditional practices that we also talk about, and I don't talk about child marriage without talking about child betrothal, because it looks like people are running from child marriage and they are going into child betrothal. Child marriage is when the child is below 18, and you give the child out in marriage. While betrothal is, the child is still with the parents, but they have already given that child over to the man, and then they are getting to a particular age when she's 18 or she's done with school or whatever it is that they usually bargain for. Then they now give the girl out. So they will now say, no, it's not child marriage. It's now that she's just getting married. But that's not true, because they will say that the man has been training, because the man definitely will pick up a responsibility, her schooling, her feeding, her clothing, everything, till it's time for her to actually get married. So that's child betrothal. So I would say child marriage is a very serious issue. Child betrothal is also a very serious issue in Nigeria. And it's something that we really need to put at the focal point, and it's something we really need to talk about. We have the laws that are guiding against these things. We have the Child Right Act, we have the VAP law as well, and I feel like it's important that the perpetrators are well handled. Our judicial system should handle them, because once one person is caught and the person is handled properly, then I don't think a lot of people will want to go into that, because for female genital mutilation, it's 4 years imprisonment and 200,000 naira fine. Aiding and abetting, I think it's 100,000 naira and 2 years imprisonment. From I think it's from the VAP Act or the Child Right Act, one of the two. So it's important that these laws, if these are the laws, let them be implemented. Let the judicial system pick whatever it is. If you're doing anything that is wrong, you're doing any of the things in the VAP Act, it's important that those perpetrators are, handled very, in a way that other people would learn from them.
Okay, Liz, I want us to be realistic here. Is it most of these things are embedded in centuries of religious and traditional practices, and it takes a lot before people begin to even consider change. In fact, people are likely to be hostile when they hear some of these advocacies in some areas that are very highly conservative.
Even now that some people are listening to you and they are angry that we're talking about these things.
Exactly.
So it's something that I was somewhere and somebody was asking me. It was a radio show, and the person just was answering. I was like, so if they say they should not do the FGM in the house because of the pain and because of the instrument that they use, they can take the children to the hospital now. So why are you saying it's a bad thing? Well, the person was just very hostile, and I'm like, no. FGM, both in the hospital and both whatever it is wrong. Those that goes to the hospital and those doctors and nurses do all of those things, we call it medicalization of FGM. So it's important that people don't even go to the hospital, because FGM does not have health benefits. So don't do it. So it's important that people understand these things. If it doesn't have health benefits, so why are you doing it? Are you doing it because of the religion? Are you doing it because of the tradition? Because there are a lot of reasons that, that surrounds FGM, that surrounds child marriage. They'll say if you do not marry her out when she's young, she will not get somebody that is befitting when she's old, because they'll feel like she's too old, for marriage, or so she cannot bear children. They have their own reason and tradition behind those things, and it's a big issue. When it comes to FGM, there's psychosocial reasons, that it passes you into womanhood, and all of that. Cultural reasons that the clitoris will become a penile shaft, a penile shaft of a man, that if the head of the baby touches the clitoris, the child will die. A lot of cultural reasons. Then religious reasons, they will say Moses law, and all of that. But looking at it, after speaking even to traditional leaders, speaking to religious leaders and all of that, they will tell you that these things are just doctrines, that there's nowhere, it is written that, you should circumcise a girl and all of this, all of that. And looking at it, once you circumcise a boy, it helps to reduce penile cancer, it reduces a lot of other things, it helps the boy, helps hygiene and all of that. But for the girl child, it doesn't do any health benefit. So I feel like people that are perpetrating this should look at the harmful effects and compare it, because a lot of girls die in the process. Even when it comes to child marriage, look at fistula. It's a very big issue. You see them urinating uncontrollably, using themselves on their bodies. So it's a very big issue, and I think that we should weigh it. Is this thing even worth it? Is it worth it? Should you have a girl child and you push her into this kind of thing? At the end of the day, she becomes a shadow of herself. A very joyful, girl that you give birth to, vibrant with so much potential in her. And because of child marriage, because of harmful, there's even the breast ironing that's going on even in a community here in Abuja.
What is that?
Breast ironing is when probably the girl is growing mammary gland before maybe before 16 or before puberty. The mother looks and says, this girl has started growing breast. She uses the back of calabash, put it in fire and heat it on the breast so that the breast can go in. Or like the one that happened to my friend, she said it was turning stick, and that the mother was turning semo, just the watery part of the semo. And as the thing was bubbling, it was hot, the turning stick was hot, the mother just removed the semo and hit her on her breast, and the thing went inside. That actually goes inside. But at the end of the day, a lot of people have infection from those things because it burns your skin, and a lot of things happen. A lot of things happen from that. So
how do people even come up with this?
So they feel that if the child is growing breast, then a man will look at her and she'll soon get pregnant. So most times, all of this is guarding against unwanted pregnancy. That's what they it's in their mind, because they feel like if you have any child out of wedlock, no man will want to marry you. So they feel that it's important that they quickly do that to their girls. Why are you already growing breasts when you're still small like this? No, we don't want that for you. So because it's a method to cope a girl child, it's a method to keep her keep her intact in their own mentality, but they don't know that they are doing more harm to the girl than good. So harmful traditional practices is an issue.
I understand that and I even appreciate that argument, because having having a girl who is pregnant when she's supposed to be in school, the society is already tilted against her in the first place.
Exactly.
Because if she's pregnant, she's most likely to drop out of school, but the boy or whoever was responsible will still be in school.
Yes.
And stuff like that. But now, let's look at your advocacy. I'm interested in the advocacy part. Are you targeting your advocacy more on the men? Because these are the people who make these decisions, mostly. Because if you look at the data, the decisions to do all these things, most of the time are influenced by the men in these societies.
Yes, I would strongly agree with you on that point. I'll agree with you on that point, because there was an issue of female genital mutilation on a woman. The woman was grown and she have heard that this thing is wrong, so her parents did not do it to her. She got married, and in that particular community, they didn't even know. So it was time for her to give birth. And these traditional people, like that, they used to call them like Iya or Iya baby or something. People that give birth to children for other people. So when they came and they saw that she was not caught, they closed her up and washed their hands and went, so they cannot deliver her of that baby. So the mother, that's her mother-in-law, now came in and said, please help this woman now. Was even talking to the woman that let them cut you first before you're delivered of this baby. Was trying to beg the woman that was in pain, because of parturition, and she said no, that she doesn't want to be caught, that they should help her deliver the baby. Immediately the husband came. The husband said that he has the final say and said that they should cut, the woman, so that the baby can come out. And while they were trying to cut the womb, they gathered all the women that were supposed to see the Iya baby and all of that in Yoruba. They call them Iya baby. So they call the Iya Olola, because Iya Olola, they're the people that do tribal mark, they're the people that do this cutting. So they called the woman and said, okay, come and cut the woman before the woman now gives birth to the baby. And you know that is going to be like a whole lot of pain, you know. And when they called her, the woman that wanted to give birth, that was delivering the baby, now started pushing her baby out by herself, so that they would not cut her. They would at least bring her baby out and then whatever it is they can now do to her. What the woman did was that she now pushed the head of the baby back inside of her, then cut her, and then the baby died. She went into shock, and you know, God saved her life in that process. So I would say that even the man has a full responsibility in all of this. And I would say that it's important that this sensitization that we're doing is also for you, the men. You are also a father, because you have you have like almost the final say over a young girl that's before 18 years due to the law. You know, so you have the responsibility to say, no, they shouldn't do this to a girl, my child. They shouldn't do this to my wife. They shouldn't do this, you know, to people that are around me. You have the responsibility. And I'll say that it's important that you understand this thing, because if you are not educated, if you don't know that this is what is happening, you know, you would think it's just a normal thing, that since they did it to my mother, since they did it to my sisters, so they should do it to my wife, they should do it to my children. So it's important. The world is evolving. A lot of things are changing. So if there are ways to even cope a girl child, and one of it is to talk to the girl. Call her, let her sit down, talk to her. You know, this is what this is. If you do this, don't tell her. Exactly. If you don't tell her, because they'll say in those days, they'll say if you go close to a boy, you get pregnant. No, don't tell her that. Tell her what it is. Give sex education, and that's what a lot of parents are running away from. They refuse to give you. They'll ask you, "Daddy, pikin never grow now. Why you go? They tell me say make I give the sex education. Now you go open the person, the pikin mind now to bad things." But the child already knows more than you.
Especially in this era of the internet.
Exactly. The child already knows more than you. And like I will always say, if you don't teach the child what the child is supposed to know now, the world will teach the child what the child is not supposed to know. So it's important that you drag the child and make the child understand that this thing and this thing, this is what happens. And this is what goes on. And at the end of the day, this is what happens. Because if you don't fully explain to the child goes wrong. When the child goes wrong at the end of the day, like my mom used to say my mom would say that, there's a way they say it in Yoruba. If you do an offense, everybody, even those people that are innocent, all of us will share inside. There's a way they say it in Yoruba. All of us will be part of it, because we'll also, you know, bear in the pain that you're going through. So I feel that it's important that you talk to the child, because whatever happens to your child indirectly comes back to you.
Exactly.
So it's important that we educate our children, give them sex education, especially for the girls. That's why I was against it when they said they wanted to remove sex education from the school curriculum, because it's something that a lot of parents are shying from it. So if the school teachers doesn't talk about it, then it becomes a problem, because a lot of people, they don't know what it is. So they think what people out there are saying is what it is. And what are the people out there saying? They may be the negative parts of it, and it's a problem. Most times, yeah.
Okay, let's as we wrap this up, I want us to look at one key area that we seem to have ignored over the years. As we mentor these young girls, teenagers, some of them want to be lawyers, some want to be doctors, and so many other things. There's also the need to make them interested in politics, in governance issues, because that's almost the surest way to make the greatest impact. When you have more women in that space, in governance, in offices, in politics, and so many other things. How do we go about this?
Okay, so this last week I attended Way for Nigeria, and what we're talking about was inclusion of women and youth in politics. And is during the group, because we always have group something. So during that group thing, in our group, I think we were group 1 or so, it just made us understand that this thing started from childhood. If we start these things in schools, political club, educate them about politics, because a lot of narrative around politics are wrong these days. There are a lot of misinformations about politics. So when people hear politics, their mind is they will start killing people, they will start sharing money. You know, a lot of malinformation around politics. But when we start explaining to the students what politics is actually about, You know, it's about leadership. It's about responsibility. You know, it's about your citizen. Explain to them, you know, from childhood. Then it makes them understand that, okay, I can do this. We did something like that, you know, when I was in secondary school. I was in political science, encouraging them to also go for these courses, and then when they come out, they can become, you know, governors and political aspirants in the future. So we I want to even speak to schools, proprietors and principals that are listening to us this morning, that is important that, you know, they also, you know, inculcate some of these clubs in their schools and make students understand that politics is not such a bad thing. You know, you can go into politics, especially for the girls. You know, you can be whatever you want to be. You can do this, you can do that, and then from there you see that a lot of girls that grow into women, you know, now move into politics.
All right, I think this is the best place to stop this for now. Thank you so much, Lewis Tofumi Amile, for your intervention. It's always a delight listening to you and having you on your side. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know that very soon we'll have you again on another topic.
I'll be glad to come.
All right, so that's our package on Insight. Today, my guest has been Lewis Tofumi Amile, who is a gender-based mental health advocate and also kids and teenagers coach. And we've been talking about the International Day of the Girl Child. Insight will return next week on Monday, fresh and early. My name is Lawrence Moite. Enjoy the rest of your day.